Hi there and welcome to Soundpaint. Welcome to Adastra solo strings. In this video here, we're going to go through the individual articulations inside of our Adastra solo strings. You may know that the Adastra string universe is comprised of 3 different libraries. We began the journey with our ensemble strings, beautiful, lush, filmic, dramatic strings. Then we had our chamber or our divisa strings volume. That would be smaller sections of strings. But in this video here, we're all the way down to the solo strings. So think of Adastra in terms of like 3 different approaches to strings: ensemble, chamber, and solo. Now, we were super lucky that Natalie Tenenbaum wrote the demo for our solo strings here. That's a different video if you want to watch it. I highly encourage you to watch that video because it's really a good way of understanding how Soundpaint can be used in terms of orchestration, but also in terms of like mangling the engine in new ways. One of the beautiful things in Soundpaint is that we don't just have to approach instruments as the sort of natural condition, even though we have them in abundance, but we can also take a solo violin, for example, and make it into a bass if we want. There's no real restrictions in Soundpaint in terms of what we can do with the sounds. We can play them in classical and conventional ways, but we can also mangle them into something entirely new. And as you're about to see with Natalie and I going through the different articulations here, it can be both. And I think that's one of the most magical approaches in terms of using orchestral instruments inside of Soundpaint, that we're not locked to the instruments in their completely conventional way. For example, if I use color mode in the strings, I can make certain strings a little bit darker than their natural state and sometimes even more beautiful than their natural condition. But what's perhaps better is the fact that Natalie Tenenbaum was here in the studio and we just sat down and played the library together, played the individual articulations and discussed like the purpose of sampling and the purpose of musicality and orchestration, how it all ties together. She's one of the leading orchestrators in the world. She just orchestrated Lang Lang's latest album. She did Mean Girls with Tina Fey on Broadway. She did David Byrne's American Utopia as well recently, and just extensive amount of understanding of the orchestra as well, not to mention that she's a world-class pianist as well. So it's been a deeply humbling and beautiful process for me to work with an artist at that level and just see how she would approach Soundpaint and these samples in a completely fresh way. Without further ado, let's just by magical means teleport Natalie back here to the studio and play through the individual articulations of Adastra solo strings.
It's the legato solo violin is made out of 2 parts, close and far. Right now the far is grayed out.
For really like deep mock-ups, you'll both be using what we call expression and volume at the same time, so 2 sliders at the same time in your mockups.
Right.
One doing the velocity shifting and the other one doing like the sheer volume of it. So 2 different things.
Right. But here, for example, I mean, I'm on the EQ thing we were doing before. I'm curious to see what it does. Oh, let me increase the range.
And play it while you do it so you can hear it.
Yeah, that's true. Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty epic. Nice. Should we do sustain?
Sure. I love that sound of the Rosman.
Right. But if you were to do like a super quiet moment and you wanted to kind of like filter a little bit out,
Yeah,
you could. and then map it and like into like another controller or something.
Commonly, these things are noise reduced in libraries. People don't want them there. I love them because I can just EQ it out, but I want to have it in there.
Yeah, it's so nice. It's nice.
I sometimes use the far microphones if I want a little more silk in the sound. The upfront can be a little bit harsh sometimes, whereas the far can also playing legato sometimes, especially for deeper instruments like cellos and basses. I sometimes like to use the far more than the close, just to give that
Takes
more
away the harshness, kind of gives that like that feeling of space. Okay, Marcato. Here we go. Marcato violin.
And they're round robin based as well. So every time you play the same note, it's not the same note.
Yeah.
If you repeat like.
Tense.
Yeah, I remember he wanted that little swoop on the end. He said you don't play a Marcato static. There's a little like zip at the end.
At the end of the note. And it's like different every time.
Yeah. That's nice.
Okay, let's do pits. Cool.
Try to do me a favor. Try to find the pizzicato note you like the very most, the single note you find the most pretty.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that one. Go into, we call it sound mode, and do one note stretch on it. The Drake pads that you like in the piano is done the same way. I found like the prettiest note in the piano and then like make you the...
I was always curious about that because it's such a cool function, but I feel like I never fully internalized like the full potential of being able to do that.
It's to make a full instrument out of the prettiest
out of the
note.
one specific moment in time with the sampler.
Yeah. But with 127 layers and round robin as well across the entire keyboard. So it is fully playable across the whole keyboard.
Nice.
It's just
it's so alive. let's, I mean, just for a quick second for somebody who's not familiar, like the difference between the solo cello and the chamber, obviously is clear from the name, but like, do you want to speak like to like the way it was recorded, or just like any kind of other differences in the different, you know, articulations or anything?
So when we did it, we were like, we wanted to have both solo and chamber and full ensembles, because as we're exploring right now, there are very different colors.
Right.
The smaller you get, the more definition you get. The bigger you get, the more full and rich it gets, but you lose some of the definition. The idea being that you could either superimpose, might have a solo violin in front of your full ensemble, or you might have a chamber with a solo cello, whatever. So you can explore all the different colors from solo to divisi or chamber to full ensembles, recorded in the same room. So they're all meshed together sound-wise, like the reverb is all the same, but it's really just the idea of like offering 3 different color approaches in the same space.
Right, so that you can go between one and the other within the same moment and it feel like organic.
Yeah, and as
like a different use of the same.
Yeah.
Legato. So I see there's a compression on here. Only 8% Lexi reverb. No, it would have been at 80.
Let's try it. Come on, let's try it. Let's just
80?
see what it sounds like.
Oh my god. It's going to be like a hot shower. Let's see. Wow. Not bad.
Yeah, no, it's not bad. I mean, it's a vibe.
And it's a little aggressive, but...
It's so liberating to be able to play it polyphonically, because for the last 20 years, it's been track by track by track when you did it. You could never do this.
Could never. Yeah. So good. Let's see.
And you know, it's interesting because like the Marcatos for me very, very strong. These ones a little more tempered, and for that reason more playable across the spectrum of dynamics. Whereas the Marcato you're kind of locked to like ring. These ones more playable.
Yeah. Here, let's try something for fun.
That works.
Man, that's cool. It's a mood. Let's do sustain. That's cool because I feel like I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, it could be totally off base, but I feel like with the arc control, so to speak, you know, on sort of libraries where you don't have that, this is sort of like getting closer-ish if you can kind of control like how it was played, right?
Yeah.
By doing that, and also maybe messing with the time like a little bit, not too crazy, but like stretching it a little bit in each direction and then like really choreographing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you can do it on the CCs and sit and draw them a couple of times, or you can just figure out the expression and the keys, in which case will get you there faster, and it's your performance.
Right, which you can obviously save as, you know, my violas or whatever.
Yeah,
and you just know.
Yep.
Yeah. Solo bass main legato. But I can go like
Goodness.
too much. Sustain bass, and then put a pizzicato part on top of that. What would that sound like? I don't know. Well, should we find out? So like play with the volume, right? What do you want to hear more of, I guess?
Not at the beginning.
That was my instinct. This is with the... That's cool.
That is cool. Imagine the player, you would have to bow and I mean, plug and bow at the same time.
I mean, that's really...
You could use an ADSR on the sustain part to have it come in a little bit, like have a little bit of a swoop, so you leave more room for the pizzicato, just a mix thing.
Attack, just make the attack.
Only, not on the pizzicato, only on the sustain.
Right, that's what I'm doing. So part 1 and 2 here, we just have a longer...
Yeah, it's more of a side chaining effect.
That's awesome. I might have to save that. What do we even call that? It's sus.
Sus. Not that. That's good. Do it that way.
Suspicious pizzicato. Suspense.
Yeah.
No resolution.
I,
Cool.
I would love to challenge you to write like a 4-piece like bass, upright bass concerto.
That would be pretty sick.
I think there's something like useful even for people that are not in the sample realm to go through the exercise to like just learn the soul of the samples. Like the Marcatos were recorded with the swoop in mind, so they're good for that, but you can't use them for everything, you know, like just to get it helps. So when you orchestrate with the samples, you know, like, okay, this is where I find that dramatic Marcato, or this is where it has that soft pizzicato. And I think some of it came from building the Prophet X, because I learned more about your side of it in terms of performers. So in digesting those thoughts, it's like, okay, Soundpaint should not just be like something for producers that lives inside of the DAW, it should also be something for performers.
Yeah, because if I were to just summarize just from my, and I mean, it's just been introduced to me, obviously it's been in development for a long time, but my sort of biggest takeaway would be, I mean, from what we spoke about, the massaging of the CCs, the need for that, the second you just showed me how to do those couple functions that could easily be mapped into something that's, you don't even need 2 hands, you used to have to have 14 hands to just try to get a little bit of dynamic going. It's just so easy to get there now. It's just like, bam. Thank you for showing us this awesome Adastra solo collection, because definitely going to be utilizing this heavily.
You've inspired me to use it, which is wild, because I've not thought about solo strings for a while, and now I'm like, oh my god, so I'm using it in my next demo as well.
Two-way street.
Two-way street. Yeah, cool. Well,
Awesome.
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.